Well, we all know that Big Papa Grump does not know how to cover NXT worth a damn, because that was just atrocious in his recap. So, I, being the savior of the masses, have come back to take my rightful place with an NXT recap. Hi, I'm Junior from the Board of Doom, and this is the NXT recap for June 14th, 2017. Honestly, actually, before I start this, I was kind of bummed by the fact that there was like 3 squash matches like in a row. It was actually kind of bad in my opinion. But let's get into those real quick. The first, it starts out with Drew McIntyre, which is like, ooh, that's going to be good. But then there's this like Rob Rising guy already in the ring, and you're just like, really? He's going to hit him a couple times. I mean, they gave him like 2 or 3 offensive moves, like he super kicked McIntyre, but it was just like, McIntyre was going to win. There was no doubt. It's what it is. They're building up McIntyre as this dominant person, but as we had an announcement that Ember Moon's coming back next week to face Peyton Royce, because they had like a little segment with like the Iconic Duo like changing up the training room or something. It was kind of lame, but you saw a doctor come in and be like, "Just need you to sign this to release it," and it was good. It was like, it builds up because they're still having that feud go on, so you can kind of keep them away from the title a little bit while you do the feud that you're kind of having Asuka on with Nikki Cross and or Ruby Riot. It wasn't bad. It was just like, hey, it's an excuse to tell people that Ember Moon's cleared. Then you had AOP versus Team, I don't know who these people were. Akam was in, and Razor was just sitting there like chatting with Ellering the entire time. Akam dominated, dumb squash match, served no purpose besides to like, AOP, look, we're so good. And then Ellering's like bragging, he's like, Heavy Machinery, you guys are dumb. The Heavy Machinery came out during Ellering's little promo. They had a little face-off where AOP was getting into it with Heavy Machinery, but Ellering like told them to back off because he didn't want to see them get hurt or whatever, really, you know, typical heel stuff. But I mean, they were willing to fight, but Ellering's like, back up, and then they ended up leaving, and it was like, it's just, yay. You're building more feud. Like, I think that's all this NXT served, was to build stuff. Like, this was kind of like a boring one. I mean, it was interesting. There was some cool stuff, but it was just like, we had another like person debuting next week. It's Sonya Deville. So she's like that MMA person or whatever that, you know, was kind of talking with Billie Kay and Peyton Royce for a little bit. And she's one of them, so she was okay. It was like, alright, cool, it's kind of cool. You're showing her up a little bit. Oh my god, what?! Then we had the Velveteen Dream versus Raul Mendoza, who is from the Cruiserweight Classic. I don't really remember who he had it was a really good match. I think he got eliminated the first round, though. He might have gone up against TJ Perkins or something. I don't really remember. But he was good. I remember he was like, because I recognized him, I was like, oh, hey, it's that guy. They let him have a couple cool spots. But Velveteen looked really strong because they're building up the new guy again. And it wasn't a squash, but this was that third squash match. I mean, it was just me. Like, it was cool. Like, Velveteen had some really cool stuff. I mean, it was a decent match. It was just like, we knew who was going to win again. And that brings us to the main event, which was Nikki Cross versus Ruby Riot versus Asuka for the NXT Women's Championship in a triple threat elimination match. This match was actually pretty cool. They had a bunch of cool little things, like Ruby Riot had offense, Nikki Cross had offense, Asuka had offense all early, and what I like is that, like, towards the end of the match, Nikki Cross actually eliminated Ruby Riot. She put her up on the top turnbuckle and did her swinging neckbreaker thing off of there and eliminated her. It was pretty cool. Earlier than that, Asuka had a moment where, if you remember how TakeOver ended, where she kicked Ruby Riot after Ruby Riot did her finisher to Nikki Cross and pinned both of them. She tried to do that again, but Ruby Riot stopped it this time, so it's kind of cool. Like I can do this again, like woo, and then it didn't work, which I kind of dig a little bit. And then you let Nikki Cross and Asuka go at it, like they were just going at it, and they went at it to the point where they started going to the backstage. And this is the part that I thought was stupid, because it's a triple threat, so there's no DQs, no countouts, but the ref called it a no contest because they weren't listening to him. I found that completely stupid. That makes like no sense. I mean, I understand that they're uncontrollable and you're now extending Asuka's streak without ending it on like an NXT or getting her, and you make Nick Cross look strong because they're just going at it, beating each other up backstage. They just did that for like 5 minutes. And then finally they came back towards ringside. They were in the tech area, and then Nikki Cross basically like tackled Asuka off into the table, and that's how NXT ended. It was a nice match. I really liked it, but I don't understand why a ref was able to call a no contest. It's okay. Like, it's just one of those things where it doesn't make any sense, but it does. That's been it for this week's NXT. I will catch you guys in the next video. Top presenter out.